Last night I did have a dream. The dream was that we were on vacation, me and my family. We were in the state of Florida, where my wife grew up, my kids grew up. That was my home for a while. So in the dream, we were renting a house for vacation. And in the dream, we were just sitting down in the living room, just talking, watching some TV. And suddenly I just happened to look at the windows. There was two big, massive windows in the living room. As I looked at the windows, I see water in the outside. I see water leveling up. And it took matters of seconds before I covered the whole window to the top in the outside. At that moment when I seen it, I told my family, guys, pray. Let's start praying. There's nothing we could do. As I seen the water rising up. You could hear the window, you could hear the wall cracking, trying to hold that water out. As we dropped down to our knees and prayed, we just prayed. I was crying. I could hear my family crying and praying to God. Suddenly, I just opened my eyes and it was all gone. I'm looking towards the window. I don't see anything. It was normal day, nice and sunny. My family was sitting down on the couch, just talking. So I told them, I'm like, hey guys, what happened? Like, didn't you guys see this? Like, what was going on? Like, what happened? And I seemed confused because they were confused. They didn't know what I was talking about. So I figured in my dream, I had a vision. So I did explain to them what I seen and how I seen the water rising up, about to get into the house. So at that moment, I just felt that urge of leaving. So I told them, all right, we're packing up, we're going home. It was late that evening and I was willing to drive. I didn't care what time it was. I just wanted to get my family out to safety. As I told them that, they were confused. They're like, we just got here, we're on vacation. I'm like, no, we're leaving. God showed me, he gave me a vision and we must leave. So as I told him that, I walked over to the window to look outside because it was raining. And I did see, as I looked outside, I did see two massive dogs. And they were on their own. They were wandering around. So I told them, okay, we can't go outside. We have to stay here. I did notice as well that there was a lot of water. So I went ahead and I stopped. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's wait until the morning. Even though I felt that urge of leaving at the moment, I was like, let's wait until the morning. Suddenly it was the morning. As I go outside to get ready, I see the roads flooded. They were flooded, so one of the vehicles, we did have two vehicles, and one of the vehicles is a normal car, which it wouldn't go through the flood. It would have just stayed stuck. So we were gonna leave on the bigger vehicle. So I had it all planned out. Okay, I'm just gonna go through specific roads, specific size, so the water wouldn't come into the car. As we were packing up, putting everything in the car, family members showed up. Actually, my wife came out running from the house as I was closing the back of the car. She came out running. Babe, look at this. You need to see this. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. So I was like, what's going on? And when I looked, it was, she had it live on her phone. and it was the news saying there was a massive explosion that they don't know what it was. They were confused if it was, because where it happened, it was a massive facility. So they, according to the news, they didn't know if it was the facility itself that blew up or if it was a missile that came and blew it up. They didn't know what it was, but it was so massive. It was near the Miami area, and we were in Central by Orlando area, and we could see the explosion. That's how massive it was. It was in a form of a nuclear explosion. And you could see it so far away, and you could still see it. You could feel the vibration on the ground of that explosion. So we started freaking out. I was scared for my family. We were scared. We're like, let's get in, we're leaving. At that moment, family members showed up, not knowing what to do, asking us, what are we supposed to do? And now we don't know. It's happening. People have been talking about this, and it's happening now. I don't know what to do. And we just told them, we're like, we need to leave. God has spoken to us that we had to leave. So we need to leave now. There's no time. We need to leave. That's the only thing we could do. The family member, as she cried of being scared, she still wanted to go and warn the family, which at that point I told them, no, there's no time to warn nobody. Everybody has been warned already, and nobody wants to believe. There's no time. We need to leave now. She still wanted to go and try to talk them into leaving with us. I gave her the keys to one of the vehicles that we had because I was going to leave it behind. I gave her the keys. I told her, if you guys could follow me, or you could go and warn the family, but I'm going to tell you, you guys all going to die together because there's no time. You need to leave now. We got in the car. We took off. Just going in the highway, going as fast as I can. I've noticed a lot of cars coming south into Florida instead of leaving Florida. And I was telling my wife, I'm like, these are people coming in to try and get their families, and they're gonna get stuck and they're gonna lose their lives also. As we're leaving, before we took off, that I told the family member, you could go and you're gonna die because there's no time. At that very moment, all the roads that were flooded, it just started like sucking up the water. The water just started running out of nowhere. It just started running away, which all thing we could think of was a tsunami. It was sucking up all that water. So we're like, let's go. That's when we took off. I'm going as fast as we can. I'm seeing everybody. I'm like, these people, they're not thinking. They're not seeing the picture. They're not, like, God has spoken so many times and they're not listening. I'm telling my wife. And as we continue going and we're watching a live news, the state of Georgia had told the governor that for everybody to evacuate Florida and then head towards Georgia where they were going to be safe. Because there was a tsunami that was already forming. It was so huge, like never seen before. It was picturing the Florida like this, and just picturing two massive hands coming up like this. So it was gonna wrap Florida completely, and it was gonna make it as far as the border of Florida and Georgia. Like, it was that massive that it was gonna make it very close to the border. So therefore, the government had issued a warning for everybody to take off. And also, in the state of Georgia, they went ahead and sent out military to the border because they were given a certain amount of time only for people to go to safety. After the time, which it was 3 to 4 hours, after that period, they were gonna close the border from Florida to Georgia. They were gonna shut it down. Whoever didn't make it, they didn't make it. They were gonna stay there. So they were gonna shut it down. So I'm just going and just trying to take my family out of Florida. And the military was ready. They were ready. They were ready at the border. They were setting everything up. Time was running out. So I was just focused on getting my family to safety. And that was pretty much all of the dream. I want to say a week ago, I did visit Florida. I did visit some family members, drove around a little bit. And it was just something that I felt like I didn't belong there anymore. Like, it was just something heavy, like telling me, like, time to go home. So we only went for a couple of days. I took off, went home. Just about 30 minutes from the border of Florida and Georgia. As I'm going, I have a vision. Now I'm talking about a week ago. I have a vision that they're shutting down the border of Florida into Georgia. That the military was ordered to close the border and not to allow anyone out of Florida. So I told my wife, wow, I just had this vision. She's like, why? Like, I don't know. You just had this vision, like, out of nowhere? I'm like, yes. Like, I don't know. God just showed me this. Moments later, we see military trucks driving in the highway. Several military trucks. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And I started explaining to her, like, the major highways. There's like only 3-4 major highways exiting Florida to the following state. And I was telling her, I'm like, the vision I had, all those highways were shut down and nobody could go through to get to the other side. So it's something so real. I've never had a dream so real, so detailed. I actually woke up and I was still scared when I woke up. Like, I couldn't sleep. I just started praying. When my wife woke up, I told her the dream, and it's hard because God took us out of Florida. I told God I wasn't leaving Florida ever. I like it. I wanted to stay there. So one day God spoke to me and told me it's time to go. So I packed up and left. So with that being said, like, God has just been showing not only myself but other people of what's going on.